At the edge of a frozen forest, U.S. veteran Evan Brooks stood staring at the one thing everyone mocked him for: his late father's abandoned, collapsing lodge. Neighbors laughed. Relatives whispered. "A useless pile of wood," they said. "Why keep that rotten, snow-covered shack? It's worthless. Sell it before it collapses on you." The townspeople mocked him. "Your dad left you a curse, not a home." But Evan didn't know the truth yet. No one did, because on his very first morning there, something happened no one could explain. Only his loyal retired K9, Shadow, sensed something hidden beneath the ice. Something no human could detect. And on the coldest morning of the year, when Shadow suddenly froze, growled, and began digging violently into the snow. "Shadow, what is it?" Evan shouted, but the dog didn't stop. And Evan's life changed forever, because buried under that lodge, untouched for decades, was a hidden fortune his father left behind. And what lay beneath wasn't junk, but a secret his father protected his entire life, a secret that would silence every person who mocked him and change Evan's fate forever. Stay with us. What Shadow uncovered will shock you. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Snow crunched beneath Evan Brooks' boots as he stepped into the silent clearing, Shadow walking at his side. The old lodge stood in front of them, dark, sagging, wrapped in overgrown vines frozen stiff beneath layers of winter snow. This was his father's legacy, the only thing he'd left behind, and the one thing everyone mocked him for. During the funeral, relatives whispered behind his back, "Why give him that worthless dump? He should have sold it years ago." Even the attorney handling the estate shrugged. "It's more of a burden than a blessing, son." But Evan wasn't here for money. After returning from deployment, he simply wanted to honor the man who raised him. Still, standing before the broken porch, doubt flickered. Shadow paused, muscles stiffening, ears sharp. The dog's eyes locked onto the lodge with an alertness Evan hadn't seen in months. It was as if Shadow sensed something beneath the stillness. Something buried deep in the snow and silence. "Easy, boy," Evan murmured, gently touching his partner's neck. Wind swept through the trees, carrying an eerie creak from the lodge's empty windows. Evan swallowed hard. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe this place was worthless, but Shadow clearly didn't think so. Not at all. Shadow stopped at the doorway, refusing to step inside. His paws pressed firmly into the snow, body tense, tail low, ears locked in a way Evan recognized well. This wasn't fear. It was detection. The same posture Shadow used in combat zones when he sensed something hidden beneath the ground. Evan exhaled, brushing past hanging vines as he entered the dim lodge. Dust floated in the stale air, and broken floorboards groaned under each step. The place smelled of age, wood, cold air, and memories no one had touched for decades. Shadow still wouldn't cross the threshold. Instead, he paced in quick, uneasy loops, nose pointed toward the lodge foundation. "Shadow, come on," Evan urged. But the dog's instincts were louder than any command. Inside, Evan found faded photographs of him and his father on fishing trips, old tools scattered across the counter, and a rusted lantern still sitting beside the fireplace, as if waiting for someone to return. Yet beneath that nostalgia was something else, a tension he couldn't explain. Later that afternoon, Evan walked into town for supplies. Locals smirked and shook their heads. Fixing that money pit, should have let it collapse. Their words stung, but Shadow's odd behavior troubled him more. That night, as the wind howled, Shadow began scratching the floorboards, persistent, urgent, refusing to stop. Something underneath was calling him. Evan couldn't ignore Shadow's relentless scratching anymore. The dog wasn't acting out of restlessness. This was insistence, almost desperation. With a sigh, Evan knelt beside the old desk in the corner and decided to search through his father's belongings for any kind of clue. Most drawers slid open easily, but one, small, wooden, and tucked under a stack of yellowed papers, was locked tight. He remembered his father always keeping a key on a chain in the shed. After rummaging through dusty nails and broken fishing rods, Evan found it. The key fit perfectly, Inside the drawer lay a folded,
but the dog
hand-drawn
didn't
map
stop.
of the lodge
And
property.
Evan's life
It
changed
wasn't neat
forever,
or decorative,
because buried
more
under
like
that
quick
lodge,
sketches,
untouched
arrows,
for
and
decades,
X marks
was a
scattered
hidden
around the
fortune his
structure.
father left
But what
behind.
caught Evan's attention
what
was a
lay beneath
short
wasn't
message at the
junk,
bottom,
but a secret
written
his
in his
father
father's
protected his
familiar
entire
handwriting.
life, that a
If
secret
anything
that would
happens to
silence
me,
every
trust the
person who
dog.
mocked him.
A chill
And
ran
changed
through
Evan's
Evan that had
fate
nothing to
forever.
do with
Stay
the
with
cold
us.
seeping
What
through the
Shadow
walls.
uncovered
His
will shock
father
you.
hadn't even
Before we
known
start,
Shadow,
make sure
yet
to
the
hit
message
like,
felt
share,
painfully
and subscribe.
intentional,
And
like it
really,
had been
I'm
meant for
curious,
this
where are
exact
you watching
moment,
from?
that night.
Drop your country
A
name in the
brutal
comments.
snowstorm slammed
I love
against the
seeing how
lodge,
far our
trapping
stories travel.
Evan and Shadow
Snow-
inside. The wind howled, making the walls tremble. Shadow paced the room nonstop, growling low at the same spot beneath the floorboards. Evan tightened his grip on the map, whatever his father had left behind. Shadow had already found the trail by dawn. The storm had calmed, leaving the forest drowned in thick, untouched snow. Evan stepped outside, breath curling into the frigid air. Before he could say a word, Shadow bolted forward, nose glued to the ground, tail rigid with purpose. This wasn't random searching. This was tracking. Shadow, wait. Evan called, trudging after him. But the dog was already digging with frantic determination near the base of the lodge, snow flying in sharp bursts behind him. Something was buried there, something Shadow was desperate to reach. Evan knelt beside him and brushed away the snow with his gloves. That's when he felt it. Cold metal. A ring. An iron ring bolted to something deep beneath the ground. With a hard pull, the snow shifted and revealed a hidden wooden hatch, sealed tight and camouflaged by decades of ice, dirt, and neglect. Evan stared, stunned. His father had built something under the lodge, something no one else knew about. Heart racing, he forced the hatch open. A cold draft rushed out of the darkness below. Shadow didn't hesitate. He descended first, barking sharply as if urging Evan to follow. Inside the underground room, dust-coated boxes lined the walls, untouched for years. Old lanterns, crates stamped with dates, ledgers, and metal containers lay preserved by the cold, but Shadow ignored all of them. He stood rigid, barking at one heavy crate in the corner. The one his father had hidden most carefully. Evan's hands trembled as he approached the final crate, the one Shadow refused to look away from. Its metal edges were rusted, the lid sealed with bolts his father had clearly tightened with purpose. After several minutes of struggling, the latch finally gave way with a sharp snap. Inside, layers of cloth concealed something heavy. Evan pulled them back slowly and froze. Stacks of cash, old bills preserved in airtight bundles, gold coins sealed in velvet pouches, documents stamped with government seals. And beneath it all, a small, dust-covered recorder. Evan pressed play. His father's voice, a voice he thought he'd never hear again, filled the room. "If you're listening, son." Then the day I feared finally came. Evan's breath caught. His father explained how, years ago, he helped relocate families during a crisis, storing their payments and valuables for safekeeping. He hid everything under the lodge to avoid corrupt officials and promised to return the items once the danger had passed. But time, illness, and fear kept him silent. "I saved this not for me, but for you, for the life you deserved. And if you found it, it means a loyal dog led you there, just like mine once did." Evan felt tears prick his eyes. The lodge wasn't a burden. It was his father's final protection and his greatest gift. Over the next few months, the Forgotten Lodge transformed into something no one in town expected. With part of the hidden fortune, Evan restored the collapsing structure, reinforcing the beams, clearing the snow-packed roof, rebuilding every broken wall. What once looked like a frozen ruin now stood tall, warm, and alive again. But it wasn't just a lodge anymore. It became a retreat for veterans, a place where soldiers struggling to heal could find peace in the quiet forest. Evan named it Brooks Haven, in honor of the father who left him the key to a better life. People who mocked him before now walked by in stunned silence. Neighbors who once laughed at the worthless inheritance now praised his vision. And through it all, Shadow became a local legend, the K9 who uncovered a fortune and a legacy no one else believed in. Evan often stood on the rebuilt porch with Shadow beside him, watching the sunrise paint the snow in soft gold. He would place a hand on the dog's neck and whisper, "We did it, boy." Dad would be proud. Shadow's tail would thump gently, eyes shining, because deep down, he knew the truth. He had protected not just a lodge, but a family's legacy.